你好，大家好，我是马三飞，你们可以叫我撒飞。那为了我不糊涂，我现在就换到英文，好吗？So I'm here to share some personal stories about setting up Shangri-La Farms, and I have to warn you guys, this goes back 3 generations, so this might take a very long time. Originally, we came here in 2003 when I was 16, and now I've spent many years in China, and these have been very formative years for me, and I'm very, very grateful for them. So after I finished high school, I took a gap year, and at the time my Chinese was terrible, so bad, and I couldn't do much communication, so I said, okay, this is it, I need to learn. And I studied every day, from the morning all the way till I went to sleep. And eventually, I learned about 4,000 characters, and then my brain almost fell out of my head. So I decided, it's time to take a vacation. And I came here. I came to Shanghai, and I wanted to adventure. So I said, okay, well, let's go to Hangzhou and Suzhou, these very historical, beautiful cities. And I got to Hangzhou, and it was amazing. I went to the West Lake and spent some time there, and eventually I decided, okay, time to move on. And on recommendation, I went to this train station out in the middle, or bus station out in the middle of nowhere, and I walked up to the counter and I said, okay, I'd like 1 ticket to Suzhou, please. And she said, yeah, no problem, but you must hurry, because your bus is about to leave, so run. And so I said, okay, it's over at number 14. I ran over, and I got on. Everything was seeming to go well. I took out my Lonely Planet and started reading about Suzhou, getting more and more excited about seeing all these beautiful rivers, the Venice of China. And finally, I arrived and got off, and then I went and got into a taxi, and I said, okay, take me to the street so I can go, check into this hotel. He said, no, why not? No, there's no street like this. No, there has to be a street. Come on. No, it just doesn't exist. I said, what are you, crazy? Come on. So I took my map and I said, look, the street's right here. And he said, 对不起，那是苏州，你到的是滁州。I was panicked, because I was just a teenager. I didn't have much money. Actually, I only had like 200 kwai in my account. And I said, how am I going to get to Suzhou now? So the taxi driver was very helpful, and he showed me around. He eventually took me to this train station where I got a ticket. And let me remind you, at the time, although I had been studying many characters, I still wasn't completely settled into China. And my ticket said, 无座. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. I thought, okay, no seat is a translation. So that means probably somebody bought a ticket from the beginning and then got off before, and now I'll take their chair. And so waiting on the platform, more and more people started coming. And I said, wow, there's so many people. So, what? I mean, they can't all be waiting for the same train. I mean, is the train empty? I mean, if it was empty, they could have sold me a seat, right? And no. The train came completely full. There were even people standing in the aisles. And I said, how in the world are all of us going to fit on this train? And, but we did. We crammed in. And, I was really quite interested in watching the social dynamics and how people got along and interacted with each other. And I had some very moving experiences. There was a very old couple that started talking to me, and they were very friendly, very kind and warm, and there were 2 small places to sit, and they kept wanting to give me this place to sit, and I said, no, 我年轻了, I can stand. And eventually, the woman sat down. She's maybe in her 60s, and she sat down on the ground, and right above her was a sign that said, deposit your trash here. I thought, this is terrible. How could an older person like this have to be reduced to sit in a place that's for garbage? I thought this was terrible. And later on, I met some younger people, some college students that were traveling to Suzhou as well. And I told them, I said, why is this? What's happening? And they were shocked as well. And then they went immediately and offered their seats to these people. And that experience made me feel that the humanity evident here is enough to make me stay. Afterwards, after my year of studying in China, I decided to go to university in Vancouver. And originally I wanted to study biology and sports science. And I got there very disorganized, and I hadn't registered for all the prerequisite courses. And they were all full. So I said, okay, well, forget it. I'm just going to study what I find the most interesting. And I found a course called The Foundation of Chinese Thought, where we studied all of the primary thinkers in China, such as Mengzi, Kongzi, Laozi, Mozi, Zhuangzi. And that was really quite an impressive experience for me, because to see how these people thought and how much they were revered, this made me think, okay, well, these are fantastic role models. I started looking more and more in depth and finding things that I really identified with. For instance, I really believed in and admired how Kongzi had this notion of the Junzi and how you must develop yourself. Then Mozi and how he believed that you should love each brother as if they were your own. And Zhuangzi and his kind of curiosity with life and how he believed you should learn by watching. So these fantastic role models were very inspirational for me. And they had these teachings that are timeless, that you can connect with even in modern day. So aside from China's historical role models, there's another very important role model in my life, and that's my mother. She's really fantastic. But anyway, she kind of created our involvement with Shangri-La, and she did this after going there with my father on an official trip, and then she fell in love with it, and she was reminded so much of when she was young, because she grew up in Kathmandu in Nepal. And seeing this place and feeling as if she felt when she was a child again, she decided, she wanted to have more involvement. And she chose to open an NGO called the Yunnan Mountain Handicraft Center, where they work very hard to preserve local indigenous handicraft trade. And they also offer free lessons in English to kids and different people around the area. So through her involvement, the three of us, my sisters and I, started trying to do more and more to help, because of course we want to support her in whatever she does. My sister Sarah, who's a fantastic designer, would help build her website and all the materials that they needed to get their message out and across to an audience. And Alia, who is Cambridge-trained economist, did a lot of their financial modeling and helped them develop their model in general. And me, I was much younger than everybody else, so I had to find a different way that I could contribute. And I realized that I could bring people together well. So I actively started to recruit all my classmates, and I said, look, there's this great thing that we've got to do. It's down in the south of China, up in the mountains, in this beautiful place called Shangri-La. And so in the following year, I brought back 13 students from England to do a bit of a cross-cultural exchange and also try and volunteer and help out as much as we could. And in the end, we did some very meaningful work, and people walked away feeling really good about the situation. Actually, there are still people in Shangri-La that ask my mother, oh, when is your friend going to bring all his classmates back? When will your son have them back? And so it was quite successful. So after being very active and doing all these things in China and in Shangri-La, I wanted to continue being active in Vancouver. And so I set about trying to learn a little bit more about farming. Because at the time we had actually developed Shangri-La Farms, and it was still in its very early stage. And I said, okay, well, I want to bring the farm back to Shangri-La Farms. And so I, together with two friends, we started working on this greenhouse growing facility. And we had roughly 7,000 square feet of greenhouse indoor space. And these two friends of mine and I worked very, very hard on it. And I really realized how difficult it is to be a farmer. We had a full day's work, and it never ended. There was always more we could do, more that we could do to be better prepared, more that we could do to make sure we had a better harvest. And it really became so clear to me that actually, when you're in this kind of situation as a farmer and you're tending to land, you don't have the extra time to go about building a brand, building a supply chain, building distribution chains. This is all very difficult. And that really helped me affirm the value of Shangri-La Farms and how this is something that we really needed to do. So now, coming back to China, as I mentioned, actually my family's been involved with China for 3 generations. And this started with my grandfather in the 50s. He was a foreign correspondent, and he was writing stories about China and what it's like, you know, with this change in regimes and how interesting it was to move forward. And he really enjoyed his time in China. He thought so highly of it, and he really, you know, it was a very personal experience, and you could see that when he spoke about it, you know, he really just felt so connected to it. And so when I was a child, when I'd visit him in Washington State, we would always have Chinese food, and we'd be eating with 筷子. So, you know, through my Californian grandfather, I actually became very familiar with China and very comfortable with the idea of being here. Now, going back to Shangri-La, actually, I returned to Shangri-La not only to help my mother, I also did it because of the culture and this relaxed pace of life. It really drew me in. The Tibetan highland style over there, it holds something so powerful and exotic. It's refined through years of history, yet it's as rough as the extreme climate that it sits in. I mean, really, they struck me as cowboys, but instead they ate yak. And amidst this rough and ready lifestyle, I saw their hardship. I saw people who worked the land tirelessly. Exposed to the sun at high elevation, their skin was leathered and thick, while their eyes were dull from the sun. And despite their hardship, they showed a lot of compassion. You know, and this made our vision of Shangri-La Farms become very personal to us. We started Shangri-La Farms out of a very tiny seed budget, and we made it to where we are now. And now we've got over 70 products. We were distributed in 100 different locations, spread across 5 different geographic markets, and we have a long list of achievements aside from that. Actually, one of them, and one of the things that we're most proud of, is our beekeeping project. And we created this as a means of bolstering an industry. And actually, in Shangri-La and Diting Prefecture, there was no beekeeping before that. Actually, farmers thought it was too high up and that, you know, you wouldn't be able to keep bees. They wouldn't be able to adjust to that region. And so initially we started by giving away these hives for free and giving the training to do, to start keeping the bees. You know, it was very successful. Actually, it's extremely successful. It's created an industry in a place that didn't have it prior to now. You know, it's also quite exciting because we are able to see that it's not just the training that we're giving them, they're even going the next step. From carrying maybe 1 to 2 hives at their home, some farmers have made it up to, you know, beyond 10 hives. Not only that, some farmers have learned how to make the hive and start getting bees in there themselves. And so when you're able to do something like that, it implies a very strong knowledge of beekeeping. So we're seeing that local talent is starting to really develop. And now in that region, there are about 850 people keeping bees. So going from 0 to 850 is something that we're very proud of. And not only that, it's also been duplicated by the government. And we work side by side in trying to increase the beekeeping in this area. You know, as part of the growth of Shangri-La Farms, we really hope to excel our development projects and to expand into new fields. Currently, we're raising capital to launch a drip irrigation project in Yunnan's coffee fields, which are now being very severely affected by drought. And this system that we've been surveying and getting to know, we believe in the first year it will increase their production by 30% in the first year alone. You know, so this actually proves a fantastic opportunity. You know, we're seeing areas go through this tremendous amount of hardship through their decreased production because, you know, farmers here in China, they're only given space to farm on a certain area of land. And so when your production starts to decline, that means your yearly income, the money that you use for your family and for yourself, is also going down. So we plan on installing this drip irrigation system to get them back up to the capacity that they were when weather was really good. And so growing to this point has been really tough for us. You know, it's been very, very difficult. We've had a number of very strange and interesting challenges that I would never have expected before. You know, sometimes things happen so quickly that I feel like I'm just in a blender and going around in circles. You know, it's also partially because when we started off, we were all very young. Not to say that we're old now, but we started off and we had an ideal and we had a plan, but we had no idea how much actually was going to go into it. And so we made a lot of mistakes. You know, we made a lot of mistakes and we've had to deal with people of all types, you know, people that actually didn't want to help us but wanted to hurt us. And you know, despite all of these obstacles, we're here and we're here to stay. We love what we do and we believe in its value and integrity. As we grow, our team gets stronger and stronger. Our team has never been more competent and knowledgeable than now. Our strength comes from the common values that our team shares. And we believe in the integrity and honesty of hard work. We're a group that wants meaning in our lives. We want to make a difference. We are Shangri-La Farms. Thank you. And if you would like to join us, please get onto your 新浪微博 and 关注香格里拉农场。谢谢。